Good evening, Final Fantasy Randomizer fans, and welcome to Week 5 of the Duckling Bootcamp. My name is Jat. I'm joined here in the booth by Gregglypuff, and we're going to be watching Caleb put on a show tonight. Our tracker for the first time in the Bootcamp series is going to be Danny, and Dark Moon EX is our restreamer. So, as I mentioned, welcome to the Duckling Showcase, the Duckling Bootcamp. This is a series of 8 videos, 8 weeks, Monday, here on RPG Limit Break, where we're going to go over some of the key skills, ideas, and concepts in the Final Fantasy Randomizer, specifically chosen for new players. After the bootcamp is over, we're going to have a 4-week Duck Derby, which is a tournament for newer players, to go to some Mario Kart style scoring tournament, going over some of these flags, some of these ideas that we've explored throughout the Derby. So Gregglypuff, how are you doing tonight?
Man, I'm doing pretty awesome. I'm just excited to be here. We're halfway through the boot camp, so that always makes me pretty happy that we're getting closer and closer to the Duckling Derby. And while we're at the beginning of this thing, I'm going to go on ahead and say this now. Tomorrow, all details, every detail you can imagine, aside from the actual point values for the Mario Kart style points that we'll be doing for the Derby, all the details will be released tomorrow. And we will have a sign-up sheet tomorrow and the Duck Derby Discord channel. So make sure you're there. You'll get we'll put out the seed for tomorrow, the Duckling Weekly for tomorrow, and then we will go live with everything, including all the flags for each week, what day of the week we will be doing the runs, and what time during those days. And all that information will be out there. And yeah, once we get an idea of how many signups we'll have, we'll actually go live with the with the point values for each race. So be prepared for that, as they say. Other than that, let's go on ahead and talk about today's flags. This is, I would say, this is going to be a throwback to last year's like 2019, 2020 style metas.
Yeah, that's when we both got started in the game, right? So these are pretty familiar to both of us, as well as Caleb. But for a lot of the newer players, you might have never even seen stuff like this before if you've only been watching Spring Tournament 2021.
So first things first, the main difference you'll see on this sheet is no longer free tints. We took your tints away from you. I know we've decided to up the difficulty in that round. Hopefully you'll have some camping gear in Canaria. Otherwise, you do not have those free tents anymore. I know. Chat's losing it. No more free. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much the same.
Moving into enemies, not too much has changed here. We do have B-side traps or use alternate formations. And once again, if this is your first time tuning in, we go through all these flags in much more details, but for each week we're only going over the things that have changed. But if you want a more detailed overview of like the key flags on here, make sure that you check out week 1 of the boot camp. So yeah, B-side traps, the main thing here, as well as shuffled status attacks, which has been on for quite a bit, but it is important to recognize. And I also believe, I can't 100% see this page, but I'm pretty sure this is where running is also, yeah, it's not all unrunnable either.
Yeah, that started last week. So we got rid of all unrunnables. We have shuffled the unrunnable packs into it. So again, a little bit more of that old school, kind of getting away from what we've been doing in the spring tournament.
And it is important to note that B-side traps, shuffle status attacks, and unrunnable formations all do up the difficulty, but we'll have some mitigating factors a little bit going forward. So moving on to treasures. Now this is where we have a little bit of the mixture of Spring Tournament 2021 and Spring Tournament 2020, because we have a free canoe and no free ship. So, all that routing that you've been seeing throughout Spring Tournament is definitely going to be applying here. So you can, from the beginning of the game, you can access any inner sea location, but you cannot leave. So keep that in mind. Not much else here. So moving on to incentives, which is where we finally, after 4 weeks, are going to talk about loose items.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about this one-time swear word in the community, Gregglypuff?
So loose items were kind of the meta when I first joined the community in late 2018. They had moved away from like just straight up zero loose. Pretty much right after I joined, and then it was like Loose Item Factory from that time until the end of 2020, when everyone just kind of was like, we're basically full clear simulators. So what we have going on here is, you'll notice we have 19 locations, we have 21 items, and it's pretty much what you expect here. The thing that we decided to do this time around, though, is that the items in the pool, we wanted to make sure that you would want those items. So we've got Massa, Defense, and Power Bonk. And if any of those things become loose, hopefully it's not a huge deal. You know, you should be able to make your way through the game without a Power Bonk or a Defense Sword, you know. Hopefully you'll find Manasa, but for the most part, if those things do end up on the loose side, it's not going to be the end of the world, and you can just go on ahead and move on with your life there. As far as our locations are concerned, you've got Ice Cave, Ordeals, Titan's Trove, Sky Palace, and Canaria Locked. And you'll notice big time, no marsh, which means you don't have to go into marsh, but diving marsh could potentially be a gamble. Same thing with diving Earth. Same thing with diving volcanoes. Same thing with diving Sea Shrine. Those places exist. They aren't incentivized, but they could potentially house one of those loose items, which may or may not be required, depending on what ends up being loose.
So another couple notes with loose items. Keep in mind that just like Random Chest and Dungeon, when you get the defense or the Massa or the Power Gauntlet, that it will not make a jingle or anything like that. So it's very important to keep track of when you pick those up in loose chests. And really, this is actually, from a Duckling Derby perspective, this is meant to be a culmination of your first 4 weeks of studies, as you should now know every single chest in the game, because we've made every single dungeon random chest at one point. So that's why this is loose, and this is really testing your knowledge. The only chests you probably haven't had to know that exist in the game so far are actually the marsh lock ones. So make sure you remember those exist. Yeah, so that's just a small note. Now, we haven't covered it yet, but Northern Docks is also on, so that's another huge difficulty spike here, because by turning Northern Docks on, plus Sky Palace being incentivized, that can lead to some very nasty early skydives. So just something to keep in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with free canoe. The second you get the ship in the canal, I mean, the world is your oyster. And with two loose, I mean, you could potentially be doing some early sea dives, looking for loose items, because you can't get into Sky yet. You've already done Ordeals. You've already done. You may not have the Ruby yet. You know, you could potentially have to do an Earth or a Marsh play. I mean, this really does like change up how you play the game and what you're thinking when you're routing through the game when you have two loose items. So it's just, again, one of those things. It's not like it hasn't been the meta for a while, but don't be surprised if you start seeing loose items make their way back into things.
And we want to make sure that like we're preparing you for everything, which is why, well, not everything, but we're preparing you for like the various. Last week was duds, random chest and dungeon, and now some loose items.
Yep.
So yeah.
For the record, I love a 2 loose flag set. I'm super excited to run this tonight.
That's Caleb, by the way.
Petron saying, "Oops, all loose" is their favorite. Well, you know, we might have something for you as well coming up in a couple weeks. So yeah, moving on to maps. The key one here I want to highlight is that gold, nothing to talk about, it's defeat chaos. Maps, Northern Docks is on. So once again, what this does is it adds a dock onto the Onrak continent and into the desert. This does mean that as soon as you're out of the inner sea, you can absolutely win floaterless. Not necessarily, because, you know, the loot or something might be in Lefane or Gaia, but floaterless is now possible. And keep in mind, as soon as you're out of the inner sea, if you have the chime, there could be that loose item, or the chime in the cube, you might have to go to Sky. Also, there of course could be the loose item in Sea Shrine or Waterfall, and it could be a loose floater there. So just keep all those things in mind. Yeah. Scale. We have, once again, continued the theme of upping the difficulty, but I'm kind sometimes. The encounter rate is relatively low, so we've increased the boss difficulty 100 to 180, 134% average, so keep that in mind. That is substantial. EXP and gold are not great, which is for some strategies that we want to talk about later, and then but encounter rate is pretty low, 0.6, 0.7, so you should have no issues there. And kindly given good blurst weapons and reasonable blurst armor. So
Yeah, and another thing too, just like last week, we have excluded Masa, so Masa will always roll neutral. It's not going to roll -2, -1. You will always have a standard, straight-up vanilla Masa.
which I've heard is a pretty good sword, Gregory.
It's kind of good.
Yeah.
Kind of okay.
Um,
Other than that, yeah, I mean, this EXP not as low as Spring Tournament 2020, but it's still, it's the levels aren't coming as free as they normally do, and especially with the lower encounter rate, you may the levels won't be coming as easily as they once had been coming, especially from last week.
yes. Party, nothing to speak of. We have taken off the Force None from last week, so you can now take a full party, but we did want to highlight that this week one of the themes is actually to killing characters off, and the reason for that is because the way EXP works in this game is EXP is divided by alive party members at the end of the fight. So if you kill off one of your characters, you can distribute the EXP onto only the alive characters, getting them higher level. And this is particularly important as melee characters and their life caster are going to care a lot more about their levels and HP than your mages, especially if your mages have good early spells. So we want to introduce, you all know that you can win with 3 characters. Well, now, maybe you want to win with 4, but you can definitely clear some dungeons with 3 and get some extra levels on, your fighter, for example. So something to keep in mind here, but no forced none. And you actually can't even bring a none if you want to.
Yeah, that was the thing I was going to say. You can't even bring a nun. We turned nuns off completely. So if you want to have a nun character, you have to make that happen for yourself, which again is its own strategy.
Pro tip: mages don't survive very long in slot 1 with no armor on. Moving on to classes.
Against our Anglos.
Yeah. Moving on to classes. We have upped the blurs classes, and this is another big benefit. So as I said, we've taken away some stuff, no tents, runnable, not everything's unrunnable, all that stuff. But we have blurs classes, 2 bonuses each, and spell casting bonuses are now on. So you can get some very, very, very powerful classes. So make sure you press that select button before you pick your party. I think that pretty much does it. Gregory, is there anything else you want to go over? I want to quickly touch that black belt crit rate, something you should always be checking. Black belt crit rate is halved. This honestly is very much a fighter flag set, unless you're going to be, unless the
the only other thing I would point out, and I think this is the first time we've done it. If you go back to the page you were just on, the bone. Nope, no. Yeah, there you go. The 20. Oh my good lord. Go back to bugs and fixes. Under the weapon elemental type damage bonus, we have upped that to 20. That's just one of those things, like in the original game, you would get like a coral sword and it's supposed to do damage against the enemies or whatever, and it didn't actually work. But you can actually turn that bonus up a little bit. So if maybe you don't have like the greatest thing in the world, but if you have like a coral +5, maybe you can go after Kraken with that coral +5. Or if you have a rune +5 and you have no other way to kill carry, maybe you can make that rune +5 do something, because it's going to do a little bit more damage than it normally would, because carry is a magical beast and rune sword does more damage against magical type enemies. Same thing, dragon sword. If you get a dragon sword +5, maybe you can make that happen against Tiamat, because Tiamat's a dragon and dragon sword does more damage against dragon type enemies. And then of course the big thing we want to talk about is the Excal. So if the Excal rolls up like a +4, +5, that's going to be pretty kind of good. Dealing with boss fights and boss refiend fights. Especially with that +20, she's going to do a little bit more damage than it normally would. So
I love
that's
it.
all. Well,
I'm really hoping to see a spicy Excal.
yeah.
Okay, and with that, let's wrap up this flag overview and get to the race. So as I mentioned, Caleb, our Spring Tournament 2021 semifinalist, has gladly volunteered or been voluntold to be a guest runner for us here, and he's going to be showing us kind of what the blessings are for these classes. While he gets that started, Gregory, do you want to just quickly touch on spell casting bonuses and how it works for, like, if a fighter gets fighter magic, or if a fighter gets ninja magic, or if a fighter gets white mage magic. What does that all mean?
Okay, so all right, if a fighter gets like ninja slash night magic, you're gonna learn up to 4 charges, and I think you get them pretty early on. Like I want to say you start off with 2 charges, and then once you get to level 2, you'll get like 3 of level 1, and then 1 of each level, and then that'll just kind of grow until you get 4 charges. But if you get like white magic or black magic, you'll learn it at the same rate as a red mage.
That is correct.
If you get thief or night magic, you get to charge every odd level, so you'll get that first level 2 shot at level 3.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so I got my fighters up. Let's want to take a look at these blessings.
Yeah, and then lastly, if you get like if you have like a black belt or a fighter or pretty much any melee class that gets like white magic level 1, you only get 2 charges of that, and that's it. You will never gain more than 2 charges.
Okay,
so your fighter's got big time agility and big time MDef. The MDef is actually really good because fighter already gets 3 MDef per level. Starting off with a plus 20, it's going to be pretty good as he gets more level, and the agility is going to help with getting enemies not to ambush you. So, or for you to ambush them. So that's actually really good to have on a fighter, in my opinion.
Because it's in slot 1, yeah. But for the most part, agility you can glaze over. For the most part, once again. Okay, so Thief is talking plus 20 strength, level 1 white spell. So there's the level 1, and that's where that 2 charge limit comes in.
Now,
pretty good. I like a plus 20 thief, plus 20 strength thief.
But the strength again is about a temper charge. So just so people understand like what that means exactly, it's about the equivalent of a temper charge.
It does help a lot in the early game.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But the level 1 magic spell, again, like what we were talking about before, he is only going to have 2 charges of whatever happens to be level 1.
The upside is that it's all of level 1 and not the Knight or Red Wizard restricted slots.
Yep. It's a really good way to get slot 4 exit without needing to.
Phil Collins in chat. Problem is, it's a thief with thief weapons.
Hey, we got incentive Masa, man. King might have the Masa. Black belt is fine.
Yeah, it's fine. The luck is good because he'll be able to run away from things better than he normally would. He's already got great MDef. It just makes it even better. But again, you're opening a ton of. I don't see the usefulness of a black belt here.
Yeah, and I want to give the highlight of, remember, MDef for a fighter is 3 per level, right? So 20 is like 7 levels worth of MDef. It's huge, but 10 is only 2.5 for a black belt, which is not much. Red Mage plus 2 level 1 MP is not to be overlooked. Agility is basically nothing, because unless your Red Mage is in slot 1, it's okay.
Fine.
Yeah, White Mage more is fine.
Fine.
It's fine.
We will see the White Mage shortly on screen here.
Spoilers, it's fine.
It's literally nothing.
Yeah, negligible. Again, you're not going to have that White Mage in the front slot. And I don't think you need any extra hit percentage on the White Mage, unless you need to do White Samurai strats.
Yeah, so I mean,
it's viable.
I guess as, people who have played a lot, we're really quick to judge the blessings, but things to keep an eye out. MDef is always helpful. Luck is also actually very helpful. Magic is obviously broken, and those are kind of the big ones. And then, of course, for your melee, hit percentage and strength will both matter a lot. And once again, I want to say the fighter is getting 3% hit per level, so that's how you can adjust your breakpoints. So if you get 15% hit, like this White Mage, for example, if the fighter got 15% hit, it would adjust the breakpoints by 5 levels.
I found my favorite class, guys.
Oh, that is...
Wow.
That's...
Okay.
Yeah.
So improved MP, I have to talk about real quick. If you ever see this, you bring that class. It doesn't matter if it's a White Mage or... Because the improved MP gives you, from the time you get to level 3, you gain a level where you're getting MP in other slots. That is every single slot. So you immediately have levels 1 through 8 charges. So it's monstrously overpowered.
Yeah.
And again, it's like anybody that gets that, you need to bring them along because you can immediately use level 1 through 8 spells if you can learn them, of course.
it's like that. The white mage is a really good example because it guarantees access to fade, which makes just a huge difference for the white mage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A question in chat: what is the sage class?
So that's
Strawberry
a red
Oreo.
mage. That's a red mage only bonus that allows the red mage to learn magic as if it were white mage and black mage at the same time.
Mhm.
It's a pretty rare bonus, but it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah,
But I
very
think MP is probably like one of the
Yeah.
best, and you'll see this here on Thief Luck, and I want to go on ahead and explain what that means now. So it doesn't mean that you're going to have the exact same luck as a thief starting off. You're going to start off with the same amount of luck that a black mage would normally have, which is pretty good in vanilla, but you will gain luck the way a thief would gain luck per level. So basically, I think a thief gains luck every level, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty good for a black mage because black mage already has pretty decent luck, at least in the early game, and being able to get one luck per level is just going to make him be your running machine. So I'll be interested to see what Caleb brings along, but this is the party after he would bring is fighter red double black.
Strawberry
This is your
Oreo.
speed and power.
This is the party that I told Jad I was going to take before I saw the blessings, and had the white mage or thief rolled a little bit better, I may have taken thief Oreo, but double black mage I love with the 2 loose flags. Give me that double barrel AoE early, and with improved MP, like it's a no-brainer.
Improved MP and the thief luck. I mean, you're gonna, if there's things you don't want to see, you're gonna be able to run away from them hopefully on the first turn. And if there are things you're gonna want to kill, you should be able to kill them because you're gonna have, charges of everything.
It does handicap me if I lose out on like an early fade or exit from early white magic for the red mage, but that's about the only shortcoming of this party, in my opinion.
But you could still get. But the thing is if you find warp at level 5 or level 6, you're still going to be able to use that warp.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you're still going to have those charges because of the improved MP. So I think this is like the perfect party, in my humble opinion.
So I do want to quickly mention. Actually, Caleb can get started in like just a quick minute here.
Did
but
I switch to vanilla sprites?
No, it's okay. It's okay. I did want to mention for 3-person parties, it's very important that you have your primary melee and a red mage because most 3-person parties wants a red mage. So if you're going to be thinking about killing a character off, you usually are going to want a red mage in it. And our suggestion, if you want to practice 3-person strats, is to run fighter rainbow, so that way you can pick any combination of 2 of the mages, just as like a go-to standard way to practice killing a character off. You can also try fighter, thief, red mage, black mage and practice killing the thief off on purpose, and then just always 3-manning fighter, red mage, black mage through the mid game. So those are all valid options. And with that, I think we're good to get started. Are you feeling ready, Caleb?
Yeah. You want to count me down, or you want me to just go?
Nah,
just go, because we count you down and then we wait for another 10 seconds on our side.
Sure.
Okay. 5.
I'm going.
4.
I'm going.
I'm counting down to the.
Now the good thing here is that we've already done kind of the early game stuff in the first few boot camps, so we don't expect Caleb to like stop in shops and do all this stuff. We may ask him to like show his. Ooh, of course you don't get life too. Of course.
Yeah, that's our first bad news.
Yeah, but you get a bunch of fire 3s. This is going to be pretty good, especially if you have to dive ice or if you do that cheeky marsh dive that you were talking about. I mean, that's still fun.
Yeah, so Fire 3 going to be a great early sweeper. No life magic, unfortunately, for any of our classes so far, but there is still life out there. Chain Armor, a nice pickup. -1, still totally fine, and don't forget that you can get that in both the Fighter and the Red Mage. You don't have to, but just good knowledge. And Caleb going to pick up a quick weapon as well here.
Yeah,
I want
like
something to punch Garland with.
Yeah, I like the Iron +4. That's a good heads-up play there, especially since your fighter can pick it up. It's like
very important with no tents, check for early save items. Even if there's no tents, just having access to cabins even and things in Canaria can be very helpful. Remember, softs and pures will always be available, but save items and heals are not guaranteed.
Now, the first thing you're going to notice right away when Caleb runs into Topher is he is more than likely checking all 3 boxes. Because again, You don't want to be the person that misses out on a loose item because you were like played the odds against these 3 boxes in here. And of course, I say that he's going to kill Garland first.
Well, I killed Garland just to make sure that I had the firepower to get through Garland.
Yeah.
So if I had taken the boxes first and hit a bunch of fights, I might have blown through my fire 3s. So that's why I did that first. But
yeah, it wasn't a not checking boxes play. It was killing Garland first, which is there is one of the key things about loose item flag sets. Wow, that's a lot of fun. Wow, that's pretty great
really
boxes.
really good.
One of the key things with loose items is you don't want to double dip dungeons in general, which means when you're going to Temple of Fiends, clear out the chests. When you go to Ice, clear out the chests. If you decide to go out to March, clear the chests, etc., etc. It's very important that you're not just leaving chests behind. So even if you're gambling, because you don't really want to be clearing dungeons multiple times and having to remember, oh, I opened these 6 boxes in this dungeon, but not these ones.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, that flame armor, kind of good on the fighter. And then that big money, of course, he can pick up like a billion tents and, softs and pures and all kinds of other stuff if he wants it. Heads up play here. I like this. Just going to go ahead and get rid of the bridge boss.
I'm going to provoke him. But I'm going to open Matoya's boxes first.
Once again, we've talked about checking the Matoya boxes first, and you can absolutely check them on the way back too. Like with the Adamant, maybe we go Provoca to Adamant. We could also absolutely just go Provoca to Crescent Lake because there is still that incentive item on the Sages. But checking these Matoya boxes is suddenly way more important because if there's a loose item here, it changes so much. That's not to say that you should always be checking, like, for example, when you air the Cardia boxes like immediately. I would still emphasize clearing out the dungeons with guaranteed incentives, but rather than opening, random boxes. But especially in the Inner Sea, opening boxes, it's a totally different mindset than where you've been in the past.
Yeah. So I do want to point out something here real quick. You'll notice that on the Mad Ponies, there's a wait instead of a run option. That lets you know that things are unrunnable. And Caleb not picking up the stuff in Canaria, gonna have to deal with these unrunnable packs. Not going to be able to get egg, period, out of poison touch here.
Sorry for the noise.
It's fine. You do have a cabin.
Oh,
I like the lack of saving here. It's going full at it.
Yeah,
we have fire
power. We got fire 3.
Yeah, we're fine. So, we got nuke. That's kind of good. That's going to be kind of good for this whole party. That's 3 nukes right there. And it's just, that's a lot of microwaves getting thrown at things. I like to pick up on pure. Here, no, seriously, I'm not even joking. Like,
I did that for you, bud.
I mean, I'm fine with it. Like, you may as well if you can use a pure, get somebody out of poison touch without having to actually buy him. Whatever. I like it.
There's also Lock 2 for sale there at level 2 black. It's not necessary on these flags with the scaling where it has that, but it's it's usually a good pickup. And we would suggest more for people who are used to the vanilla game, just to remind them that Lock is fixed and does actually help if you're swinging a Masa on your fighter at level 24 and it's fasted and you're getting 6 hits. Lock's gonna help quite a bit.
Yeah, and you'll notice already on Egg 2 and Egg 3, you've already got level 1, or you've got 1 charge on every single one of those levels. I looked down when he was menuing through, and everything is already at 1 charge, so there you go. Picking up all the heals, using all that money he was able to pick up in Topher to grab cures, grab a bunch of camping gear to make sure everything's easy to go. And there's our pro rings. They did roll up. Love the silver armor pickup there for your red mage. Never overlook that for your red mage. It's not great for a fighter, but it's great for a red mage.
Silver armor, chain armor is the red mage, like, those are really what you're looking for in the early game, especially.
Yeah, so interesting to see here because we do have an incentive ice. You've got Crescent that's available. And we have that free canoe. So this is where we talk about route divergence. Where are you going to go? Do you go do Ice Cave because you have nuke, but you have the Adamants. So obviously that's what Caleb's mindset is. He's going to go turn in that Adamant first and potentially check out Elfwin before he decides what he's doing from here on.
Yeah, I mean, I like getting warp or exit before going to ice, especially with vanilla Ice Cave. we're really used to seeing a lot of random chest and dungeon ice, but with vanilla Ice Cave, warp and exit just becomes so much more important, right?
Oh, absolutely. Warp alone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just monstrous.
Oh man, I'm so happy right now.
All right, we're going in
Okay.
here. First box, flame -2. Checking the box again. What is your Cow? It rolled up.
So good. Come here, Hooray.
Yay!
Maul you against the wall.
So Xcal +3, that's going to pretty much get you through all your Fiend fights and Topher, except for Chaos. It's not going to be good against Chaos, but it's going to be pretty good because
It's gonna
not
be
only
okay
do you have that
against
+3 modifier, but you've got the 20 plus damage type, and Xcal does extra damage to every damage type, or every type, right?
It preys on all weaknesses is the way I like
Preys
to put it.
on every weakness.
So that Xcal is going to be very, very good. Of course, we can't use it until promotion, but it does definitely make plays like, diving, opening boxes just to get the masa when you're in go mode because it's loose. That's no longer so required, assuming we can get the floater and promote.
Yeah, so this is okay, I'm gonna say this now. This is a very Caleb play. This is an interesting call considering we don't have Warp or Exit, and there's only 9 chests we can check down here, looking for 2 loose items because it's not incentivized.
Right. We've got a reset button.
We do have a reset button. I'm not saying it's a bad play. I'm just saying it is a play.
It's a low odds play, but this is the strategy that I lived and died by last spring tournament, and I would have made it into the brackets if it weren't for them dang goons. So
this is definitely going all in with pocket jacks if you play poker.
Yeah.
So
that's a very, very apt analogy, actually. It's not like going all in with 2/7 offsuit, but it's very much going in with all in with pocket jacks and being like, this is a reasonable odds play, but it's not the statistical play.
Yeah, I see it as like a 2-minute time investment for a potentially 20-minute payout.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if you do find something like what Chet's talking about, I mean, if the floater is down here loose, I mean, you look like a genius, like with all the wrinkles in your brain. If if nothing,
we're probably re-roll like 9 minutes in, just like, okay, let me get a different seat here.
Now,
or anything.
The key thing here, now, one of the biggest parts of loose item seeds is information. Finding loose items is super important, not just because it lets you win, but because it also lets you stop opening boxes. So that's why finding loose items early, even if it's like the loose loot or something like that, and it blocks no progression except for the end of the game, is super important because going from 2 loose items to 1 loose item can change a lot. For example, with 1 loose item out there, I will skip hairpins the first time through Volcano or something like that. But with 2 loose items, I'll just check everything because I'm not 1 item from go mode, and that's a really important distinction.
Yeah, I want to go on ahead and answer a question from Sabertail in chat. Yes, loose items can go anywhere in the game except Topher. So there are 7 boxes. Ooh, Warple +3. There we go. There's only, those 7 boxes that are in Topher are the only 7 boxes in the game that cannot house a loose item. And that includes loose items that aren't required to beat the game. So yes, the tail, you don't need the tail to beat the game, will not end up in Topher. Oh my gosh, these curse sharks are huge.
Beef shark.
Yeah, they are not messing around here.
Oops, I made a boo-boo.
Knocked them in the head with that iron stick, so it's fine.
I made a boo-boo, boys.
Uh-oh.
Did you? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, did we not open the box? Oh.
No, I made a
You got the
boo-boo.
box.
Uh-oh.
Now pop
We
that
released
bottle.
the fairy. We're gonna forget. That's why we have our fantastic tracker Danny here.
No, that's not boo-boo. I've seen plenty of people do that.
Yeah.
Some people love popping the bottle immediately. But yeah, that's something I would...
Danny's gonna be turning on her mic if we forget that bottle doesn't exist in 30 minutes.
Well,
here,
it's not like it's going to matter anyway if this box has nothing in it, because I can't imagine Caleb's going to walk out with any of this stuff.
I'm walking out with that katana, that vendor sword.
And the
And
Vorpal
the
too.
Vorpal 3. Yeah.
The Vorpal plus Xcal is actually a pretty good boss killing combination. The Vorpal's good against what the X-Cow's not, which is chaos.
And I'm thinking we've got incentive power bonk, and I've got level 1 fast. So I have my in-game weapons right now.
So I do want to point out here, so we got in here about the 7.5 minute mark, and we're at 11 minutes, so it's the 4 minutes that we've kind of, I wouldn't say we lost it, because we did get some levels. Obviously, levels are important. The Vorpal +3, kind of good as well. So I think it's okay, depending on how Topher ends up going. But the Vorpal +3, plus the X-Cow +3, that already, in my mind, says, maybe I don't need the Masa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be fine without it.
There is also... Oh, go ahead, Caleb.
I was going to say, until the herb turns into the Masa, and then it's just have a wealth of riches, or whatever the expression is.
So now I want to go over a few more loose item things. So with loose items, it makes diving incentive dungeons incredibly important, because determining which items are loose is critical. And we've specifically designed this flag set to have essentially 5 potentially not required items. So the floater might not be required, the tail is always not going to be required, and then the Masa, the power gauntlet, and the defense are all not required to win the game. If 2 of those items, or 1 of those items, is one of the loose items, you can hit go mode without opening all of the boxes in the world, and it's really important to recognize that for loose flag sets. Now, of course, there also can just be, loose loot, and you got to open all the boxes to find it. But the sooner you can get that information, the better decisions you can make, and that's why prioritizing incentive dungeons is really important in this flag set. Now, it's important in all flag sets, but it's especially important in loose ones, just because of the time loss that it takes to full clear C, for example, when you don't have to. That's probably the perfect example is Sea Shrine. You don't want to go into C without knowing whether or not you need to clear all the boxes in it.
See, I will want to say one thing. I kind of crapped all over the Marsh play, but if he didn't have a ton of money, I don't have a Marsh play because, power bonk. So there we go. That's one of the kind of things we don't need. But if he didn't have a ton of money, go into Marsh early just for money so that you only have to go into Elfland one time is actually a pretty good play.
Yep. So money is super important.
Yeah, especially going into Elfland, having 10, A, going into Elfland and being able to get all your level 3 and level 4 magic. I mean, it's huge, and that heal 3 is also huge, because then not having to double dive this city is just such a time save, because it's a big city that's kind of sprawled out everywhere. So I don't know. I don't hate it so much. We're looking at it now.
One of the things I always will tell new players is try not to go to the backside of Elfland if you can't afford it. It's just a good thing to keep in mind. And there's a chat and there's a conversation going on. Oh, nice. There's a conversation going on in chat right now about white mages. White mages are very, very important classes when the scaling gets higher, but it's just in the lower scalings, just more like the duck style scaling, it just tends to not be as necessary, because guaranteed access to invis, life, ruse, wall just aren't as important. I did also want to point out we do not have an incentive ribbon, so finding a ribbon is going to be quite valuable in this particular flag set.
Yeah, we don't need this iron armor and the none of this stuff. I mean, the buckler's fine. It's basically the equivalent of a silver shield, I think. But other than that, I mean, we got Fade. Unfortunately, we don't have an exit. So, and then at this point, we are down to 2 locations. Not 2 locations, but 2 incentive locations, and a potential full clear of Volcano looking for a loose item to get our either ship or canal, because we still don't have either.
We have a canal. We're just missing.
We do have the canal. Sorry.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Pop quiz: where is the ship if you find it in Crescent Lake? Oh, okay.
There's
it's Elfland.
Yes.
Yep.
Caleb, we know you know that.
Sorry.
It's okay. See, chat had it before you said it. But yes, remember, the places spawn is if the extended open wasn't on. So if it's in Ice Cave, it's in Provoca, and if it's in Crescent Lake, it's in Elfland. So keep that in mind. Now that cube is setting off warning bells in my head, because remember, once we're out of the Inner Sea, that sky incentive is immediately available if we have the chime of the cube. So really do keep that in mind.
Yeah, another thing I want to point out too is that Caleb deciding to walk out that katana and those extra levels and all that money out of Marsh Cave actually ended up paying dividends here, because now again it is no double dipping of this area, right? He does not have to act in here again, because there was not really anything great at level 6 as far as magic was concerned. And yeah, I mean, he's done here, so he could sell off that katana, get that cube, and we are done here. We have our ship, and we have a canal, but we also have 2 loose items, and we also have an incentive ice. So I'm interested to see what Caleb's going to decide as far as his routing is concerned. Is he going to go dive a volcano to try to look for a loose? Is he going to do ice cave, or is he going to get out of the inner sea completely and do some other stuff?
So I wanted to... Oh, Caleb, do you want to say something?
I was going to answer his question, but I'll let you.
Okay, I
can
wanted to
talk
point out something about the difference with loose items versus with random chest and dungeon. So what Caleb's doing here is totally reasonable, and going to ice makes a lot of sense. What I want to point out though is that in random chest, if you can clear ice and volcano, you almost always want to do it in random chest and dungeon. And the reason is because if it's random chest and volcano, great, you get the item. If it's not, you can open no chests and kill carry with nuke. However, with loose items, once again, having the knowledge of how many chests do I need to open is really important. So going to ice makes a ton of sense, but do we dive into volcano and potentially full clear it for no reason? That's the loose item dilemma, versus if you go to places like Ordeals and Waterfall, which are now available because once again Northern Docks is on, you're guaranteed to get an incentive item and you get to clear some boxes. So just really, really keep that in mind. Loose items is very different, and it requires a different way of thinking.
Yeah, if you had a way to kill carry, I would definitely say potential cheeky volcano dive, going again, going all in with those pocket kings. You know what I mean? Like just going for it, checking those boxes, hoping you can find one of those 2 loose items there that could potentially be progression or a go mode item. We don't really have a way to kill carry. I know we have a ton of nukes, but with the HP scaling being at 180, carry could potentially have about 1,000 HP.
Yep.
Yeah. It's also a matter of getting all the way down there and clearing and still having the nukes left over.
So your idea here, Caleb, is to do ice and then piece it and leave volcano for later?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Earth.
Yeah, so the most Caleb thing ever.
Yeah. Now again, Earth rodless and without exit or warp. That is
I'll do for like level 1 Earth and then leave.
Okay. Level 1. Yeah. So what I will say is probably the standard play here is you can either skip. Like what I would argue the mathematical play is here is you could either skip or do Ice Cave. I think both are totally reasonable, but the play that you really want to be thinking about here is Ordeals and Waterfall, especially Ordeals. The reason is because it's incentivized, it has some chests, and keep in mind, when you're clearing Ordeals, you're guaranteed an item, but you're also just getting to check a bunch of boxes off your list that you're opening pretty much for free. So like Ordeals is very, very valuable here. You also want to be taking a look at the other incentive locations. Of course, with the way that we set up the flags, there's not a lot of other incentive dungeons. And because of that, that's what makes Ordeals Waterfall even more valuable. So I think I would probably skip Ice and do it last, but I would be doing Ordeals into maybe Waterfall and then go do Ice into Volcano. Once again, just trying to get as much information as possible before I go in full clear Beam Dungeons. This Ice play first is totally reasonable though.
Yeah, it's totally fine. But the only thing that's scary about this ice play is those huge unrunnable sea snakes that open up with Dazzle that you're going to have to go through again. That's some scariness. I don't like it.
The upside is I'm getting the fighter has that MDef buff, so that's helping. And then hopefully they just continue just to target him and let my nukes get off, because they were falling about 250 HP it looked like, so it's not ideal, but I have backup Bane strats for them, so
yeah. Now the good thing about this is we always talk about I wouldn't say incentivizing, but like, understanding the importance of clearing places that are already incentivized. So yeah, ICE only has 16 chests. It's kind of out of the way. You got to go through the river system and all that stuff, but it is incentivized, so you know you're going to get something that's important here. But you could potentially get the loose item that you want, and that Pro Cape kind of good for his mages.
Yeah, just the Get good armor. Once again, buying early armor. Very, very important.
We were talking about going to a 3-man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let
Do you
the
wanna
game
go to-
decide when that time is.
Yeah, this might be one of those situations where even though the MP is great on the black mages, you still have 2 other people that can throw nukes out there, and getting levels on everybody else might be a little bit more important. So Egg 2 might be taking a nap for a little bit.
Yeah. The other thing that you sometimes want to keep more characters up is for run chance, but with the black mage having additional run chance, it really actually helps quite a bit. So those are all important considerations. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about 3-person comps. So we did 3-person comps last week, so everyone should know how to run a 3-person comp or have some idea of it. But like, what leads to you wanting to kill characters off? Now, the number one thing is that you believe you can continue to clear safely. I want to really emphasize this. Yes, in the last one, you can absolutely clear from the get-go with a 3-person comp, but what I personally like to do is get out of the immediate, like, early level dangers and then go down to a 3-person. Maybe, you know, if it's a draft or something and I have 2 black belts, then I kill one off right away. But with like a good solid fighter comp with fighter and 3 mages, or even fighter thief red-black, I'll often leave my 4-person comp up until I'm basically ready to leave the inner seat, and then I will start killing a character off. That's kind of my go-to concept. And I also really do like leaning towards 3-person a lot of the time if I'm running like a fighter rainbow. If you're running, you know, 2 black mages and don't have thief luck, keeping a 4-person up so you have extra run chance can be beneficial. But these are just some different considerations. And Caleb, finishing off ice, so of course not finding a loose item here, but we are still guaranteed something. And that's the big difference between this ice dive and say the, you know, the marsh dive we did earlier, for example, which is that even though we found no loose, we're still going to get rewarded with something.
Yeah,
It's
and you could
something.
potentially be rewarded with something that's important, like a chime or an oxio, that will, you know, move on progression or be go mode. So let's see what we get here. We got a crown, so that's another fetch questy little thing. We got to go through this. This is the scariest tile here, but luckily it's only 3 of them. So hopefully the nukes will take them down and the dazzles won't land.
Ooh. Well, landing on our fighter, who's probably the least important character here. Nukes going off, and we get out. Another consideration for whether you go to ice first or later is if you have warp or exit. I think if I had warp, I would go ice first. With no warp or exit, maybe I would skip it and see if I can get warp at like level 5, but once again, I think either way. But just whenever you're considering ice, do you have a way to kill things? Do you have warp or exit? Should really be kept in mind. And then the third part is, do I want to clear volcano at the same time? If the answer to all 3 is yes, ice is probably a reasonable play. Like, not even reasonable, ice is probably a very good play. If the answer to a few of them are no, it's kind of mediocre. And if it's the answer to all 3 is no, which was not the case here, then you should
also
avoid ice.
Also, the main thing too is like I know you were talking about warp exit and all that stuff, but but even without warp and exit, you want to make sure you can kill all these undead packs. Like, I mean, Caleb having Fire 3 and Nuke in the first 2 levels makes ice then more like, okay, I can at least get through this place, get a bunch of levels along the way. Even if I lose somebody, I can still get some levels. But if you had like Ice 3 and Bane and stuff like that without warp and exit, I mean, there's no way I'm going to Ice Cave with those spells.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, sorry. I guess that's an expansion on point 1. Can I clear ice safely? Which is Fire 3 and Nuke go a long way.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of.
No. That's a good expansion, because I was just playing like, oh yeah, of course. If I had Fire 3 and Nuke, I would say I can't do it. Versus if I have Ice 3 and Bane, I don't. But you know, that's not obvious. So
all right,
it's good to clarify.
So one thing that happened here, which I'm interested to see what Caleb's going to do here. One of his characters just got turned to stone. Now, in my mind, I think to myself, let's bring the other black mage back to life. And then now we have a stone character, which is a little bit more useful, in my opinion, than a dead character, because you can always throw a soft on a character that's stone and bring them back to life immediately. And we don't have life 2 anyway, so it's kind of good. And I think that's what Caleb's doing right now.
Or Caleb.
He's just trying to...
I'm not sure which one it is.
I'm letting my dog in the room. Sorry. Step away for 5 seconds.
But yes, he is going with the strat that I mentioned earlier. So he is going to keep the statue in his party and be able to funnel all those levels around while having a statue. And then, you know, at that point, he can just, you know, throw a soft down on poor Egg 3 and everything will be good to go without having to worry about taking them to an inn or trying to find life or whatever. So
I
this
am
is
gonna
kind of
buy
like
some
a
softs.
Yeah, having a soft is probably good, especially with the amount of money you now have access to. I did want to point out that a especially good stone character is your life caster, because it means that if your solo fighter with a defense gets through Kraken with no one else, you can bring up your life caster to cast life on everyone else. So I really like having stoned life caster. But yeah, wow, those are some beautiful tents. We might as well give them away for free, Gregory, for $24.
24. I know. So we're looking pretty good here. Yeah, going back to Canary, that's the one thing. Canary will always have softs and they will always have pure. They may not have camping gear, but you will always find pures and softs there. So I like this river system play to turn in the crown. It's actually the quickest way to get here, but it's one of those things that's easy to forget when you're a newer player. So throwing out Quad X, because Quad X will more than likely land on Astus, even with scaling. And we've got the Gong, which is our loot. So Ice Cave was required.
So when you're analyzing your routing, and like part of it is good routing selection and part of it is luck, you have to recognize that the Ice Cave play was going to be required anyway. So the only time you potentially lost to an opponent was a full clear, versus if they were in go mode before they went to ice, they may have not full cleared it. But most people are going to be going to ice before they're in go mode anyways, so that ice play was just river system is the only potential time loss that Caleb would have had compared to the opponent.
We have one thing I want to point out right now. We've got temper on all three people. So again, we've got an early fast. We have an early temper that all three of these mages. I mean, this is like speed and power to the nth degree. You have 3 temper casters. You have 3 nuke casters. You have 3 fast casters. I mean, I don't know what more you could want with this party.
A life caster, I guess.
Yeah, and at this point, we don't have a life caster because I didn't.
Unless it's an on-rack, we're not going to have one.
Yeah, we're on the Hail Mary slot. But we should have a pretty strong night. So Caleb's gonna... Oh, we are leaving. Okay.
Not gonna do the Earth.
We have talked Caleb off the Earth ledge.
My instincts, my spider sense is no longer tingling. Marsh and Ice betrayed me, so...
Yeah, I mean, we're down to like only a couple of go mode key. Well, obviously the key is required. The loot is kind of one of those things that it's really good to see in my opinion, because the loot is one of the only things in the game that can be literally anywhere. And so being able to find it, you're like, okay, cool. Well, at least,
Yeah. Like what
I won't have to full clear the game finding the loot.
What Gregory means by that is, like, if the Oxio is loose, the Oxio, there's one place it can't be. It can't be in C, right? So all these other items that lock key locations, that you're going to find them before you go to those key locations. The loot, yep, Marsh key lock, there it goes, or, Sky
TFC.
Spider, or TFC, or all sorts of other nastiness.
We still could have Rod in the vampire box.
For all you White Mage haters, though, this is a pretty good example of a seed where a White Mage, a fighter Rainbow, while these Black Mages are incredibly powerful, that White Mage would be quite strong here. You have early enough Fade, Exit, and Life, which were both White Mage locks, so... just wanting to point out that there is still utility in the White Mage, absolutely.
Yeah, the White Mage would have had, like you said, Exit level 4, and then, of course, the Life 2, which would have been, again, huge. Because there's nothing scarier.
Yeah, the odds of the red mage getting none of the good white spells is usually pretty low, and in this case it got Fade, but, getting locked out of Life and Life 1, Life 2, you have to make sure you have a plan on how you're going to deal with that if you're not taking a white mage, and in this case, that plan is going to be defense and Power Gauntlet, which is a pretty good plan.
But luckily here, I mean, we've got enough speed and power going on again with that early Fire 3 nuke, Fade on the red mage, Ice 3 on the black mages. I mean, we have so much firepower that hopefully the life won't matter. We're going to open enough boxes to where I'm assuming we're going to find at least a ribbon. We got the extra M-Def on the fighter. Think we're okay. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, this Ordeals is very rude.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I big brained the
annoying.
third pillar at least, so I had that going for me.
Yeah, it's just like pillar. It's just like, yeah, all the non-defaults for me. I'd get owned in this ordeals, but Caleb gets through. I hate it when I don't have a warp. It's like my least favorite when I'm running.
Yeah.
You get used to
It does seem like
Yeah.
it does seem like ordeals is about 20 times longer without warp.
Mhm.
You're like, oh man, I have spent my whole life in here, as opposed to going in and out in about a minute and a half.
Something I should highlight about ordeals, which people might not recognize the interaction with. Ordeals has these mandatory trap tiles too, if you don't have exit. With B-sides on and not all unrunnables, be very careful about going into ordeals if you have no like good magic. Like ordeals at level 6 with no sweeper or whatever was like a play that you could make in spring tournament, for example. It's not so good with B-side traps and unrunnables because you can get totally stonewalled on a tile. So, you know, if you have nuke, of course everything's fine, but if you're like walking around with like, you know, Bane is your only sweeper, do keep that in mind.
Yeah, so
That's a
pudding
Ruby.
is going to be our Ruby. Yeah, and so that opens up. So when you have incentive Titan's Trove, that actually opens up 2 incentive locations with the Ruby. You're going to be able to obviously check the boxes and Titan's Trove, and you're going to be able to do Sarda as well.
Yeah, actually, I used to always say like the first thing you should do is turn in the Ruby, and I actually had to break that habit for like Spring Tournament 2021. But now that we're back to the incentive Titans Trove, and you know Sarda, the Ruby becomes a really high priority turn in because it just is, you know, multiple free chests, but 2 incentive chests plus you get a few free chests. So pretty nice.
Yeah.
Are you going to do Waterfall first, or are you going to do the Ruby turn in, Caleb?
I was gonna do Waterfall.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking as well. Is like you're in the southern continent, might as well go do Waterfall anyways, and then Ruby turn it when you come back up north.
It's interesting. It's interesting to see what you might want to do in your brain. Like you're like, okay, do I want to do Waterfall without exit or warp, or can I get 2, key items right away by doing, the Ruby turn in? So again, it's just more of that like thinking about how you're going to route the game. Yes.
Well, I'm
You'd have
thinking
to go
Waterfall.
back to the southern continent.
If Waterfall, as long as Waterfall doesn't have Oxyale, this feels like the right play, because if Waterfall has like TNT, the crystal, like then I'm just yo-yoing up and down the internet and the
if you haven't found the shop item either, you almost always should go Waterfall first here just to check those 2 shops. Just something to keep in mind. I can't remember who told me something, but like I remember I was listening to a vet and they were saying, you know, if you don't have the shop item, this is like 0.5 extra items. So really worthwhile. And the other consideration is we're talking a lot about not having exit or warp, but at this point, Caleb isn't going to have exit or warp. So it doesn't matter whether you do it now or later without exit or warp. It's not like, you know, when you just need to check level 4 magic and you might find an exit or warp. We've checked levels 1 through 6. We're not getting exit or warp. So, you know, going to clear Waterfall now without exit or warp isn't that big of a deal because we're just never going to have it. And that's where, once again, that thought pattern of, am I doing something that my opponent's going to be doing more efficiently? At least from a racing mindset, that's where that comes in for me.
There was a shot there in Onrak that warp would have been level 7 and the Black Mage would have been able to use it.
the MP.
Yeah, the MP boost. And it makes sense to check that and to know whether life would be there and to have to go check that again. So, again, totally makes sense to go on ahead and check those 2 magic shops because, could have gotten the warp that we could use. Could have found life 1. So at this point, life 1 is doing its best impression of life 2 and being at level 8.
Or 7 in Gaia, but yeah, it's not bad feelings all around. We'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine here.
We'll be fine.
Love the use of Ice 3 here. The Nightmares are, even though they resist death, they are weak to Ice 3.
Yeah, try to, if I can use a elemental weakness, I will, and preserve my nukes and fades for things like the mud goals. Granted, I don't have Ice 3, so I'm just using the weaker fade.
Yeah, so again, it's like, it's a, different strategies, like kind of how what to do, but then knowing your enemy's weaknesses too, like what Caleb was saying. So he doesn't have to use the nukes here. He can throw out the ice threes instead of using his nuke charges. That way, if he does run into mud golems that resist all elementals outside of like time, then you could you can save those for them.
Yeah, or you can menu too quickly and hit Bane instead of Ice 3.
Yeah, and nightmares are weird. They resist death elemental, but they are weak to ice. And I think it's because what was the logic behind that? They're
fire horses in D&D, so...
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I just picture it because their hooves are really slippery. That's honestly how I remembered it. I find like having little memory tricks. You can also remember that they're fire horses. That's probably a better one. But as long as you have something that like you can make a connection in your brain, you'll remember it a lot easier. Earth elementals being weak to fire is because everything in Earth is weak to fire.
Yep.
Even though it looks like it's like a piece of dirt.
It's because you're turning the Earth elementals into
Hey, there you go. So big brain play here on Caleb's side, realizing that he's still got a ton of turn-ins up in the southern continent, is able to get the crystal here. So now we got a ton of things we can just kind of route all back in together. So now we have key items we're going to pick up right away. Obviously, we're going to turn in the ruby, get the Titans item. We're going to get the Sarda item, and then we can obviously talk to Matoya and get the that item as well. So we'll see what the game decides to do for us here. We still have Volcano that could potentially house a loose that's, that could be progression or just be required. Or it could be absolutely nothing. We don't know. Earth 1 could still have something. We don't know.
I'm going to totally get like Chime, Oxiel, and Rod from these 3 turn-ins, and just going to be a loose key out in the world.
Yep. I also want to point out just how good Caleb's levels are. I mean, of course, early nuke helps, but this 3-person party, right, because you're running slightly smaller, you're getting a lot more EXP. This EXP is not great. This is 2.2 plus 150. Not to say that that's bad, but that is a lot worse than what like a lot of duck flags are on. And Caleb has cleared just the incentive dungeons and is already into like I think 20 or 19 or something like crazy like that. So
yeah.
Now Caleb's been taking a lot of fights.
I've only ran from fights that I've ambushed in wyverns because I don't like wyverns.
Yeah, wyverns are not great by any stretch of the imagination.
But so the only thing that I'm gonna show off my big brain. Sorry. Sorry, it's happening.
Is it Earth time?
Is it Earth time? It might be Earth time, depending on whether he gets the route or not.
To be honest, checking Earth on the way is not that bad, because you're in the area anyways. I don't know if I would go and clear down to Earth. This is the big brain. We're turning in the crystal from the
first.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going. So this is an unusual play here. Unusual. I mean, this is like the big brain play to get to. Yeah, it's a great play. And when I say unusual, I mean most people don't think to do it. But sailing southbound, you can hit that river system there and then turn this in. Now, granted, that slab is completely not usable right now until we get the floater.
Yeah. So the problem
turn it in when I dock the ruby.
Yeah. The problem with this is that we have to go over to the inner sea anyways to turn in the ruby. Well, like the inner sea kind of to turn in the ruby. But once again, if that was the chime or something, that was really good, and the cost wasn't like insanely high. So slab was actually nice because most people would route ruby into crystal, which would mean that you're hitting Melman on the way out. But in this case, we don't have to. So so interesting items that we can pick up here, of course, are the floater would be interesting. Chime, Oxiel would both open up a lot of items. Rod would make Earth a very valid dive, but we are still at 0 loose, so welcome to the joys of loose item flag sets where you've cleared all the incentives. Yeah, Saracen.
Yeah, so now at this... Oh, sorry, go on ahead.
I was just going to say, Saracen pointing out there that we call it the secret Matoya dock.
Caleb not turning in the slab there.
He can
right, I forgot.
I mean, Caleb, I covered for you. You'll turn it in on the way back. That was the
Yeah,
plan all along.
exactly.
That was the plan all along. I totally forgot.
So small
So-
optimization here. If you have exit or warp, it's slightly faster to go to what's his face first, Starda first, and then come
Mhm.
back for this item and exit to the left, the top left, instead of exiting from here. But without exit or warp, you want to check Titan's Trove first, and we get the floater, so that's a pretty big deal. Caleb doing the other optimization, which is when you don't have the floater, if you get that item, you can skip Sarda because it's faster to go there with the floater than it is to go walk on land. Now, it's not actually faster in terms of like, you know, time to fly back and forth, but what it is faster is there's no encounters.
So gonna go on ahead and turn in the slab. That way we don't forget to do that later on.
Mhm.
And yeah, we'll do the Sarda. And now we have a couple of things we can do. Obviously, we got the bottle earlier that we opened up, that we're not going to forget about because I just mentioned it. We did the
remember.
slab turn in. Yeah, we got the slab turn, which means we can do all of that Gaia Lefane area in one go.
Mhm.
And then at this point, you know, we're just determining what do we have left. Obviously, we still need the chime. We still need the rod, and we still need the key to put us in go mode. We haven't found anything. Oh, the Axial, thank you. Oh gosh, so we have a lot. So
Yeah.
it's starting to get to the point now where we're like, maybe one of these loose items is required.
Yeah, well, there's
Yeah.
still 3 loose items that are. There's still 3 items out there that aren't required. The Massa, which is not required because of how good our swords are. The defense and the tail. So this is where I want to highlight loose item 101. Get your information before you start full clearing dungeons. And if you've gotten all the information, go to Sky, for example, before you go
Guy,
clear Sea or Volcano or Earth, even if those are easier dungeons, just so that way you can get the incentive. So get your information, do incentives first. It's going to go a long ways in loose item flag sets. So we have the chime. We are now 3 items from go mode, and technically they could just be in 2 items, right? Because the key can unlock another item. So the key could just unlock the Oxale. So, you know, this could be go mode right now if we hit key Oxale and then the rod is in Canary locked, for example. Okay, there's life.
there's life, not learnable. Yep.
Rip.
One thing I do want to point out, ended up being a great play here because not only do we need to obviously do the bottle turn in, we need to do Lefane slab turn in. But now that we have the chime and the cube, we can go on ahead and full clear sky, which I think the full clear sky, that's the whole sky memes. It's a pretty good full clear looking for loose items. There's 52 chests in there. There's great encounters that give good EXP. And, you know, there's already an incentive item there. So
yeah, I would probably, I don't know if Caleb agrees with me, but if this is like key or Oxale or rod, I would likely go and turn in that TNT before I went into Sky to determine if I need to full clear it or not. I mean, I guess we don't have a ribbon yet, so like opening the boxes is kind of valuable, but once again, I like to get the information before I start opening 50 boxes.
Yeah, I'm doing TNT before Sky.
Yeah. And oh, okay, defense.
Defense
Okay,
sword.
we're getting very, very close to needing one of those loose items.
Yeah.
Asking in chat, what is this mod? It's actually just a sprite edit, and if you want some information on that, you can check out our Discord and the creative channel, as well as Groggy Dog's Magitech Factory, where there's a bunch of information on how you can prepare your ROM to take advantage of some of the many awesome sprites. In particular, I'm fond of the Duckling ones for our Ducklings. We have ones where we have little ducks.
Yeah, the
for
ones
all the
Ken
ducks.
Brightblade drew.
Yeah.
Those are really good. I thought about like modding my eggs to hatch into those.
This is a very specific homage, which I'm not going to get into, but it's not to any Final Fantasy. Well, yeah, it's not to any specific Final Fantasy thing. So
the
here we go.
backwards walking sprite is just funny to me. That's all. That's the story to the backwards sprites. It's just funny to me.
Onto the TNT turn-in. Now, at this point, once again, we still do not guaranteed need a loose item, right? Because it could be key, and then key could have a thing, and we do have one incentive item left in Sky. Greg, who came up with these flags? Putting an incentive item in Sky was very rude.
It wasn't rude. It was all by design here. And there's our mouse immune. So that is it for like at this point now, because Kale is still out there. We know one of these loose items is going to be required.
Right, which makes you feel a lot better about full clearing high density
Man.
chest locations.
I really want to go to Earth, but y'all are making me go to Sky.
Well, I mean, you also have Volcano that you're kind of close to that you could kill a Fire Fiend. And there's 32
Yeah,
chests there. So,
That's
I mean,
not
they're- yeah. No, Sky makes the most sense. Again, 52 chests up here, high EXP battles. You already got an invocation plus an orb. It makes the most sense to go on ahead and clear Sky.
Yeah. But my
Good
heart.
note. The loose item, if it's the key, it's a little unfortunate. But if it's the loose item is the Oxy or the Rod, we at least know some places it can't be.
Mm-hmm.
Telling you, Rod's in Vampire Box. I can feel it.
We're getting the full loose item experience here.
Yeah, this is actually a really good seed for it, in my opinion. Like, this gets to show people what the whole loose item versus what people like to call pseudo loose. Everybody was saying, Spring Tournament 2021, we got 5 pseudo loose. 2 loose can't be any worse than that. Oh, it can be.
Oh yeah.
Because you have no idea where these loose items are.
Worse, maybe in a race setting or something, it can be frustrating. But like, it's also just like an enjoyable way, at least for me, to like play the game more casually as well. So keep that in mind, and you get to open all these boxes. You're going to have great gear, and also get a ton of EXP as we open those boxes. So very nice. Once again, the only problem with this seed right now is no warp or exit. Ugh, that's bad.
Going to Earth.
Going there.
For anyone
gotta be a
watching, this is not. This is me going back to my instincts.
Oh, Kale. Wait, are we actually going to Earth?
Yeah. The me getting blown up by the vampires is me reading the seed and it telling me these vampires are beating you up because I didn't open all the boxes on the vampires floor. So this is not a
this is not
the probability play. This is
boss recommended play, but this is the Caleb recommended play. I mean,
yeah,
one of us got eliminated in the round of 8, and one of us made it to the semis. So maybe you got to make sure you're listening to the right person.
This is a go with your gut when your gut's telling you to go somewhere. That's all I'm saying. Sometimes your gut might tell you to go to Volcano. Sometimes it might tell you to full clear Sky. Right now, getting bodied by the vampires put a bad feeling in me.
Yeah, no, I will say, actually, we specifically chose Sky for a number of reasons. One is that with the Northern Docks, we wanted to put Sky as an incentive to remind people that it's Sky and Sky is available. So that's one reason. Another is that just like it is a good chest dense place to clear when you have the capability to do so. So do keep that in mind. This is not Caleb hard. This is Caleb, just Caleb. Or
yeah, this is definitely a Caleb play here. Devious RNG wanted to know. Devious RNG wants to know what my thoughts are. I think if we're getting blown up out of Sky, a Volcano makes a little bit more sense than this without the Rod. But we'll see how this plays out. I'm gonna get totally egg in my face, and
I'll remind you of that one spring tournament seed where you raised my brain, Greg.
Yeah.
Did you pick the hat?
We'll see how this goes. As he probably picks up the. Oh, there's the key right there. Look at that. Of course.
Sometimes you gotta go with your gut, man.
Oh my goodness. The largest confirmation bias ever. Ducks, I'm sorry for the pollution. Oh god.
I'm sorry, Greg.
This is why Final Fantasy Randomizer is give us and take us away. Yeah. Wow.
Rando's Mirando, as they say.
So, with the key, that is one loose item, and now Caleb, if this leads to the Rod or the Oxtail, you're gonna go back to Sky because it might just be go mode there.
I'll do key lock. So I'll clear key locks except Marsh Bottom. I won't go to Marsh Bottom.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But nice. It's in my mind. If you do something that's like on paper the dumbest thing in the world to do, and it pays out, you press that advantage.
Oh, the
You
rod
press
is
it. So,
so
That
nasty
is
there.
so absurd. That's
Oh,
so
God.
ridiculous.
I would
the
finish
old
this in an hour and a half.
yes, exactly. The old loose key that leads to the rod in Earth Top. Of course, this would
At least-
happen. Well,
at
Caleb's here. It would have been like anybody else running the seed. That would have never happened. But I'm like, hey, Caleb, you want to run this too loose seed here? This is like your kind of thing. You're going to be able to dive Marsh and Earth Top early, and of course, like
Yeah,
you said, confirmation bias.
Only thing ruder there would be if that was Earth like 3 or something crazy like that.
oh, that's where our Oxyal's sitting.
That's really, really rude. Yeah, I think in this particular scenario, I might check these key locks, but I would probably just go right to Sky and hope it's the Oxyale. But
Yeah.
I see the logic, especially for like Dwarf Lock, because it's a lot of chests. We also still don't have a ribbon either, which is like making chests more valuable. Like you kind of like value just opening some amount of boxes anyways. But if I'm gonna open some amount of boxes, I would probably open the some amount of boxes in Sky over these ones, just order-wise. But then these would be very near the top of the list, and with flying back and forth with the airship, this makes sense. Once again, no warp or exit, but resetting is pretty good warp, so
Yeah.
we take that.
That's insane tingling there that you got. Oh, that Dragon +3, kind of good. I would keep it.
Yeah.
But insane. Like, right, you're in Sky, you get blown out of Sky by vampires, you lose your knight, and then you're like, oh, let's go dive just the lowest percentage. Let's go let's go all in with Jack 10 off and see what happens.
Sometimes
I'm gonna
you
keep
gotta
going
go
with the
your
ogre.
gut.
Wow, Jack 10 off was kind. I think that was more like 6-8 one gap suited or something like that.
It's the kind of you gotta be there stories. You know, you had to have been there to see it happening.
Yeah, I'm going all in with pocket twos, and we're hoping for the best here. Maybe
Remember
nobody
how to walk.
Okay, so we got one more key lock. Let's say hypothetically that you've cleared Sky first, and then we're deciding key locks are a really good chest dense play. Another good option is actually the Cardia Isles as well as the Volcano Armory. All these places that I've really been down on during the Spring Tournament 2021. I'm actually a big fan of in loose flag sets once you kind of cleared out your incentive locations, because they are highly chest dense. It's just the difference between Spring Tournament 2021 and this is that this is guaranteed loose items versus those could never be required to win. That's a big difference. Oh, we're doing,
I backed out of Volcano, and I'll tell you why. Because I realized that I have one loose and one incentivized item left. The loose item is either the Oxyale or the tail.
Right.
And I want both of those things.
Oh, you want both? Interesting.
Yeah, I want to promote if I can. Because I want to be able to equip all that wonderful gear that I found, that Aegis shield, that dragon armor. I'm not guaranteed a ribbon, so
yeah, that's true. I think with the gear that you have, I would feel comfortable enough going unpromoted, but I mean, obviously promotion's nice. And yes, we've checked the bottle pop, but we haven't checked this Sky incentive. And this Sky incentive is going to give us a ton of information, right? Because there's no decision if this is the tail. If this is the tail, we get to promote, everything's good, and then we are definitely opening all the boxes until we find the loose. If this is the Oxyale, well, then it's a bit of decision time, right,
Yeah,
Caleb?
if it's Oxyale on Sky 4, then I'm just going to go. But because I have to.
Yeah. I mean, you already big brained the rod. You're ahead by like 15 minutes here. Some poor schmuck is gonna full
Just
clear
imagine
speed.
if I had gone there when I wanted to, chat.
I mean, no, you wouldn't have changed anything else. You'd still
No,
be
I
clearing
would've.
basically everything. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd
you're not
still be
gonna go-
doing everything else you've already done.
Yeah.
You would have just had the key earlier.
It's just
I
the
mean,
poor
you would've
schmuck
done it.
who's full clearing Volcano first and Cardia first and Sky and all that. That's the man. That white shirt gave me like Spring Tournament vibes of oh, I found a loose item.
Right,
Yeah, same.
Same.
Actually, white shirt's pretty important in this comp. I'm pretty happy to find a white shirt because of the lack of invis casters and We can speed and power to a reasonable amount, but we can't speed and power like insanely. Just because the bosses are 100 to 180, which means they actually do have some HP. We do have fast and tempers though, which is pretty nice. Wow, this is just a sword show, eh?
Yeah. Hey, we finally got a gold bracelet over here. Look at that.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of an improvement from the copper bracelets.
Yeah. Now, I like to pick up on the sun sword here. Normally you wouldn't grab it, but we don't know if the tail is going to be loose yet. So, that gives your red mage just a little bit extra firepower in case we need to throw a sword at something.
Mm-hmm. If your fighter goes down, of course, you're going to be transferring the Masa to the red mage, so it's not as important as it would be in some particular flag sets, but this does also give your red mage as a backup plan. Yeah. Will, with some words for the sun sword.
Yeah. I mean, no, I agree with that. It's a +1. It's fine. It's got
pretty medium.
Yeah.
Good early game sword.
Yeah.
I got words for this thief luck, man.
Yeah.
I do as well. But like I said, it's not what do you think it means.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking what the black mage already starts off with and just you get extra luck per level.
Yeah, I was talking to Cece. Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh, there it is.
Okay,
so this is huge in regards that we know this is going to lead to the tail, or it's going to be the tail. But the big thing here is if he had finished through this, that would have opened up all of C to look for the key. So
goodness,
my gosh, like that's crazy. I can't even
GG, Greg.
I
no,
lose by 20
it's just-
minutes.
Yeah,
Gosh.
exactly. Everyone loses by 20 minutes. Caleb is Spring Tournament 2022 champion.
So 80 or 90% of people now would go full clear volcano, then go full clear C, and then do Cardia, full clear volcano, full clear C, then go to Earth, and then quit as Caleb finishes while you're still getting, when you open the key box, Caleb will.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because that's troll item placement. Not only is it Go Mode 1, but Go Mode 2 with the key leading to the rod.
Oh, it's atrocious.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Are we gonna do some greed checks for
No,
ribbons?
we're done.
Nah, we're done. We're done. We don't need anything.
We're done.
else.
We're bringing Egg 2 back to life. I like this play, or Egg 3, I mean.
Also,
Whichever
look at
egg had been turned to stone.
Look at our levels, they're perfect, right? We have a 24 fighter, a 25 red mage, and then our black mages are unbalanced, but it's not that big of a deal. Like, Egg 3 has plenty of nuke charges. Doesn't really matter. Sabertail asking in chat pretty much set on gear here. So I think Caleb is correctly identifying that this is winnable, but I wouldn't really say that for a newer player that this is the type of gear that you're like 100% happy with. The key thing that they're missing is a ribbon. So in the checklist, the ribbon is missing. But Caleb, I'm assuming you're feeling okay about this because of your pseudo ribbon on your knight, plus the defense, plus the Masa.
Yeah, and I'll open Cardia.
I was going to say.
I'll save in the air, and I'll just check all 3 islands and just reset at each one unless there's a ribbon.
And then some greeds and C,
the hallway.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Dragon Armor, you've got Aegis Shield, Pro Ring, you've got all that extra M-Def on the knight. I think you'll be fine.
Levels are good, yeah. So when we're talking about pseudo arm ribbon, I should probably mention what I mean by that. So the knight is one of the only characters in the game who can get what we call a pseudo ribbon, and the reason is because it has access to the dragon armor and the Aegis shield, as well as of course pro rings. So the dragon armor resists all 3 of the spell casting elements, so it resists fire, lightning, and ice. And then the Aegis shield is one of the only items in the game that resists poison. And then the ribbon resists death. So with that, you're resistant to 5 out of the 8 elements. Now, doesn't save you from zap, but it is pretty helpful. So I would also highly recommend, if you're going into the Temple of Fiends Revisited with this party, that you prioritize picking up pro rings when you have no ribbons, because they can really save your bacon. So, yeah.
Yes. So Tiamat, of course, I was going to say Tiamat, of course, does not resist poison. And Tiamat goes down to the first Bane. And at the hour mark, we are lighting up our first orb. But the rest of the orbs are going to come pretty quickly here. Is Caleb's going to do promotion, get some good gear on his people, and then probably just straight up go mode all the dungeons that are left.
Caleb, you've come a long way from 2020 to 2021.
Whoa.
First turn Bane? What is this madness? I thought Caleb Luck was like hours of just doing Bane for bingo.
No, that's like Greg stress. You gotta get stupid lucky sometimes. It's better to be lucky than good.
I mean, that's my entire spring tournament 2021 run. Better to be lucky than good. How?
Okay, so Dragon Armor, we get to go get that Aegis, and then we have 1 Pro Ring right now, so we could go pick up a few more Pro Rings. It's not absolutely mandatory, but it is pretty helpful.
Yeah. Right now, I'll just lean into the Fighter MDef and just see what it is.
And we're good to go. Curse you, no more per exit. Once again. Petron saying reverse boss order, yeah, and I think, after you clear Cardia, I think you just do C because it's close. At this point, none of the bosses are really that scary, so...
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the reverse boss order memes, so...
So moving a bunch of stuff around, putting the mouse on a Black Mage,
Why not?
Vorpal, X-Cal, I like it.
So the X-Cal with the plus 20 is actually very, very good for all the things except for Chaos. So the only thing that Caleb will definitely do is switch the Masa or the Vorpal, depending on your preference, onto the Knight for Chaos. But outside of that, it's not that important. Like the X-Cal would be excellent.
Ha!
So these checks will be pretty quick. He's going to probably check reset. He's already in the air. Yep. So just going to be able to park his airship right back down, not have to get back in the airship. That's a CC spell zap little strategy there. And that's good. So again, don't have to get back in the air. You're already in the air. And then after all of this, I assume we were going to go kill Kraken.
Yep, I believe Kraken is on the cards. Yeah, so, I mean, well, there's not really going to be much else to talk about what Caleb just shows us, how to menu quickly and get through Dungeons and Go mode, but I did just want to highlight, a couple of more things about this flag set. So we've already talked about Northern Docks. Please, please, please remember that they're on. We've talked about the class blessings, right? And then the last thing that we should quickly touch on is just like the impact, once again, of this 3-person. So how to do 3-person comps, make sure you're killing a character off, move it to the front row, especially if you're purposeful. But a lot of the times, especially vets, will just, when a character dies, you just make a decision. Am I going to bring this person back up again? And the way that you answer that is it safe? Can I clear things without it? And is it the right person, the right people to get levels on? And usually those people are going to be your fighter and your red mage in this particular flag set. So keep that stuff in mind. And you can go far. Levels that you want to be hitting here, because you're with the Masa, and the Masa is always vanilla, your fighter is going to want to be level 24. The red mage having enough HP to survive a nuke is nice, but not really realistic for if you want to be going really fast in this flag set. So, mid-20s for your red mage and fighter is kind of what you're aiming for, and then your black mages, it doesn't really matter. Ideally, whatever level they need to be in order to cast fast. So Caleb, you are still choosing to take some fights here. You're just taking them for the levels as you go, or are you aiming for a specific amount of MDef on your fighter, or what?
More levels.
Yeah.
Really. And that's a really interesting hallway room. I'll just let you guys see that and experience that. And the thief luck hasn't been that good, so I don't know. I'm a little disappointed that my black mages aren't running as well as I felt like they should be, especially the higher level egg 2 was still failing a lot of runs.
Actually, that's what I was going to mention. I was talking to, I think, Cheeseinator about it, but basically what he said is that thief starting luck is far more important than thief growth, and a plus 15 luck blessing is what you're looking for runs more than you're looking for thief luck. So thief luck isn't actually as powerful as you might think, because it's not, once again, the starting plus the growth, it's just the growth. So really value plus 10 luck, and put a little bit less value on plus thief luck, because a lot of the times the running is really important in the early game rather than in the later game, or you can just get bad luck like what Caleb's getting here. Almost a max gold chest.
So what was interesting about the hallway room is that there's only 2 ice swords in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And we just found them both, so it's just kind of neat little thing that happened. I wish these were any other sea encounter other than the Sahag packs.
Yes, Sahags are pretty brutal. Well, I guess while we're
Just-
waiting... Oh,
I was gonna say, just like anything with, like, I would rather take the sea snakes with Dazzle just because it's better experience.
So I guess while we're waiting for... Well, not waiting, but while we're watching Caleb just execute through the Fiend Dungeons, if you guys have any questions in chat or any topics that you would like us to discuss, maybe now is a good time, as Caleb's still going to be, even with like full-on Spring Tournament 2020 playing Race Fizzle strats, it's still going to be another, 4 or 5 minutes just to finish clearing Sea, Sky, or Sea, Vulcan, Earth.
I will check the Volcano Armory. I see people talking about it in chat. I'll still definitely check that. Going by like the Dead Pulse rules, I'm only going to check it because we don't have a ribbon, and while we don't have life, like a ribbon means my fighter will be able to make it through Topher, probably.
Defense
on his
plus
own.
Power Gauntlet plus Masa plus Dragon plus, all that stuff makes a solo fighter very, If you're interested in watching a solo fighter blow through Topher, why don't you check out our bonus stream coming up soon? But no, in a seriousness, like with a ribbon, this dive is much, much, much safer because like the way this dive fails is this knight gets zapped down or something, right?
Yeah, that is the advantage that I lose with digging out the loose, is that anybody that has to full clear the game is going to have that ribbon over me, wherever it may be.
They'll also have opened 60 more boxes than you, so. That's pretty rude.
Yeah. Just reminding us why we should really have a ribbon or a white shirt or a Cure 4 or something.
But it's helping us put more levels onto characters that matter, so that's good.
Just...
Oh, no respect for Kraken. Once again, this knight is very, very strong and has very good armor, so... No way. No way. Are you kidding me?
I think I broke Jet.
Math exists, I swear. So those are 14% chances, so... approximately a 2% chance of hitting back-to-back first-turn Brax, or Banes. What? Come on. Wow, Caleb, you really would crush us all in this race.
Yeah, nobody's beaten this in this time.
Holy smokes.
I just realized where the other ribbons are.
Where?
They're on Earth 4.
Oh.
All three of them, and there's 8
There's at
chests.
least one. There's at least one in the Earth Armory. I could feel it in my bones.
Oh no.
But there's one here in the Armory too.
No.
Oh no, all 3 are in Volcano Armory because you didn't come here earlier. You got the key,
Yeah.
but you missed out on all the ribbons.
Volcano Armory is not a play that I typically make early. I mean, well, it depends on the flags. Like 2 loose flags, I usually stay away from the Volcano. And that's more of just like a racing meta, because that's where everyone's going to go. And I like my chances doing things that other people aren't going to do. Maybe it's like a low self-esteem and security thing from when I was new in the community, and like I needed these big time swing advantages to do well. You know what I mean? So... But
Matt thinks this. Thank you, Jojo. Thanks.
But like Jat's not wrong. This is 100% confirmation bias. These are bad things that we're seeing happening for a lot of people. Because whatever weekly seed we get tomorrow, Greg, like it's not going to be. People are going to be punished for these sorts of plays.
I will not. So I cannot confirm nor deny what the weekly has because it is only vetted for boss magic. So we don't actually know where the loose items are. So if it's awful, Yes, this is what a ribbonless party looks like.
Yeah, so yeah, that just confirmed that we're going till we find a ribbon.
I mean,
Oof. I mean, only one enemy can have zap in the game because the Phantom is the one that has the zap. So, it's bulls. And bulls, they kind of live in Earth Cave and here. So,
Well,
at
there
least
is
it
a
doesn't
thing
live in
called the
Earth.
Medusa script.
Yeah, that also.
that is true.
Hey, you know what? While we clear for a ribbon, why don't we talk about the joys of Medusa?
The Medusa script. Oh, there it is!
Okay,
The
okay,
one
we're,
ribbon.
we are in go mode of like very, very much item go mode. Okay, so how do skill and spell shuffles work? So this is a very nuanced question that's not that important. The most important thing for players to recognize is that an enemy will always cast the same skill and spell first in their thing, but the order in which, like whether they cast a skill or a spell, is a coin flip. So not a 50-50, but a weighted coin flip. So if Caribs have Thunder as their first skill and they have Lightning 3 as their first spell, they will always cast Thunder or Lightning 3 first. That's just the way they work. So like the skill and spell lists are set. But what we talk about when we say a Medusa script is a little bit different. So the way that it actually works is there's 2 shuffles. So the first thing that happens is all of the enemies that have skills and spells in the vanilla game, they have all the skills and spells shuffled between them first. So that's the first thing that happens. So for example, Medusas have it, and then we shuffle the Medusa script into Thunder first and Lightning 3 first. And then we assign those scripts to enemies. So the Medusa script is now on Caribs. The reason we say the Medusa script is kind of like a community thing is that there's actually 3 copies of the Medusa script out there, which means that if first turn Lit 3, first turn Thunder is on Caribs, and it's on the Medusa script, it might also be on Gargoyles, and it might also be on Peds. So that's the way it actually works. For all intents and purposes, it's not really that important. What's far more important to recognize is just like, if an enemy has Lit 3 in the Earth Cave, Earths have it, the Earths in Temple of Fiends Revisited will have the same thing. So just keep that in mind. So there's a little, background knowledge on how skill and spell shuffle works.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Medusa script basically boils down to if you can pull up FFR hacks or FF Haxler, that'll tell you what the script is. I think the original Medusa has like Dazzle on the first script, and it shares with Vampire. It shares with one other thing that I can't really think of off the top of my head, but that's kind of the thing. Like, the game is limited. Is the best way to describe it. The original game is. Yeah, exactly. Limited in memory. So certain scripts, you'll notice another one I like to always point out is in the vanilla game, most people already remember is the, oh, thank you. DVS helping me out here. It's Medusa, Medusas, and Sarias have the same script. And it's not Dazzle. It's what is it, Glance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't ask me about vanilla game. I know nothing about the vanilla game. That's where.
But there's another couple enemies that have the same script, and I want to say it's man cats and Argoyles open up with Fire 2, and then they do slow right afterwards. So it's
there's
it's a way to save memory.
Yeah.
Oh my! What?
Okay, it wasn't the Earth Armory.
We're still going to the Earth Armory, Jack.
Oh.
Nobody goes to the Earth Armory with 2 ribbons.
This is just me being cheeky.
This isn't even a Caleb play. This is just Caleb showing the size of his wrinkles on the brain.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I'm not even saying there's wrinkles. It's just like he is a savant.
Hey.
Yeah.
I was close. It wasn't a ribbon. It was cloth.
I mean, you could rip that cloth up and turn it into a ribbon.
You just have to say that like you meant your feelings were just slightly off. It was actually the vampire chest all along.
Or it's in this bottom room on Earth 4.
Please don't.
We were corrupting the poor ducklings.
Yeah, this is a learning experience, not a Caleb
Will
does all
Bloodworth-
the bad plays that pay out.
Yeah, Will Bloodworth saying the exact same thing in chat. So we got 3 orbs lit. We got Volcano left. Black Turtle asking in chat, why are 3 of the characters eggs? So that is actually just a sprite edit. It's the 3 eggs are a red mage and 2 black mages, but the way the Final Fantasy randomizer works is that you can edit the sprites on the vanilla ROM first, and then when you randomize it, those sprites will stay. So you can do that. Okay, we've proven definitively that Earth 4 is garbage. There's never anything there. No,
Oh, I got that rip. I got that cloth.
Yeah, he did. And then he's gonna go on and full clear Topher just for everybody.
Have we ever shown where all the boxes are on a Duckling stream?
well, first, it's not important because you should never check them.
No, I agree. I mean, you gotta be in a weird position to want to check carry floor.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for you to be checking carry floor.
There are memes, and like I will argue that checking the loot room if you don't have a ribbon is actually like a totally legitimate thing to do, because if you open a lot of boxes and there's 3 ribbons out there, you should probably be checking the loot floor. But I would never check any other of the boxes in Topher, like past, of course, like keylog, like outside of Toph 1.
The one thing I do want to point out, and I don't mean to cut Jad off here on the Plur and Topher, is that we're at hour 17 in, and we're going into Topher now. This is easily, because of where the key was located and how Caleb found it. This is easily over an hour 30 minute steed, and that just goes to show just how different the playstyle of any loose 1, 2, 3, all loose, so forth and so on is. It's definitely not as quick as the seeds we've been running on the Duckling seed. I know Black Bolt seed was under an hour this past week. I think we had a few under hours come in as well, if not like just over an hour. So don't be discouraged if you're running the flag tomorrow and you pull up like an hour 30, hour 40, something like that. It'll probably still be a good time. Or if you went from getting your first sub 2 hour to getting like a 2 hour 15 or 2 hour 20, these flags just tend to be longer than what we've been running so far, because again, like Jat said, we've up difficulty moving forward.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm taking fights in Topher because my eggs are fragile and I'd rather get the XP and just kill them than try to get punched in the back of the head trying to run away.
Paper Tail sub 3 this week. Maybe it can happen for you. Learn something from Caleb here. Just check Earth early, get the loose thing that will get you somewhere, and then you'll be good to go. Man, but these chimeras are huge.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
That was
for everything that
410.
for everything that Caleb's saying, I do want to point out a couple things that he particularly said. Like, I'm very much a nuts and bolts style player. I like to play mathematically, and that's my style. But Caleb did say a lot of things, and that's a few different items I want to touch on. So one is, of course, confirmation bias, and you always are going to remember the time that you make the the play that's off brand or off math, and it works, and you'll always forget, or it just will be blank from your mind, that when you lost 20 seconds because you opened 3 boxes you didn't need to. But you're going to remember the time that you opened 3 boxes that you didn't need to and you found a ribbon, right? So that's the confirmation bias side of things. But the other side of things that I want to point out, which is what Caleb said, is that when he feels like, I don't want to play heads up against this person because this person's going to out execute me, or this person's going to, in a straight vanilla game, if I just play that way, it's going to be too easy, or I'm going to be too predictable if I always take the same route every time, so I want to change it up so my opponent can't just mirror me, or things like that. Those are all very serious considerations for when you're racing. So I did just want to give some context on avoiding confirmation bias because it's very, very real and very, very negative, I think, to learning. But B, also recognizing that there is a time and a place to make non-odds-on play in FFR. That's why they're not always incorrect. Like if you feel behind, make a non-odds-on play. If you feel like your opponent you can't beat, and if you make the exact same decisions, make a non-odds-on play. You can take risks another way too, going into total for late or lower level. You can take a different party comp, etc., etc. But these are all really important considerations. So I did just want to put that out there. I feel like as a Duck boot camp, we want to make sure people are coming into FFR with a good mindset. It's really important to be mentally strong, so you're not coming in with like, you know, fast times is everything, winning is everything, because the game is going to kick your butt, and it's going to kick your butt again, and you have to make sure that you're able to enjoy it and also learn when you're making mistakes versus when Seed is just doing weird things. But this is another side. It's just like recognizing confirmation bias and recognizing when to move away from the odds on plays. It's kind of similar to like in a short stack scenario, Gregory. I don't know, going back into the analogies, right? Like sometimes you have to play more aggressively because you're in a disadvantaged position where you're pushing with you know, a polarized range rather than with just a set range. And while there's no betting and gambling aspect in FFR, there is absolutely the, you know, your opponent can't call, but there is absolutely still the gambling aspect of, you know, if you feel you're behind, you need to gamble more.
Yeah.
Or as Will Bloodworth says, winning is everything, playing stupid seeds with solo characters is everything. There's a lot of different ways to enjoy this game. So 2 bosses down, not much to speak about for 100 to 180 HP on Carrier Lich with the quality of gear that we have and the levels, but Kraken's going to be the first real test. So what's the plan on Kraken, Caleb?
Swing, fast, and then swing, nuke.
Are we keeping our fighter and red mage in slots 1 and 2?
Yes.
Okay, and no defense.
I've moved the defense. Yeah, until things go bad.
So
we're gonna try to muscle through.
Yeah, so it's still mostly speed and power, essentially, is what you're saying, because 100 to 180 is still doable with such good gear.
Yeah. So we put the defense in that first slot there because it's just easier to menu. So if you do want to go on ahead and throw the, you know, get a little ruse action going on, you don't have to like, oh, where's my defense sword? Oh no, it's in slot 1. You literally just go down, AA, boom, done. You're good to go, and you can keep it moving.
For 0.6, 0.7, this floor's got a lot of encounters.
Well, I mean, it yeah. Just depends on how the encounter table rolled, since Mr. Caleb doesn't like to hard reset.
Right, I was going to say, where are we? But we have no idea.
That's another one of those things that just stuck with me.
That's Caleb trying to create more variants so that way he can get different luck, which, you know, it's actually not a benefit, it's just a way to like differentiate or have more coin flips out there. But the reason that you normally reset going into Temple of Fiends Revisited is so that if you wipe, you can know whether or not you want to like hit the same unrunnables or hit different ones. You don't know if the different ones are better, but you can know if the ones that you hit the first time are bad.
Oop.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 222, that's going to do about 500 damage fasted, but Kraken's going to have quite a bit of HP here. Going into speed and power, though. That's a really good nuke roll. That's a not so good nuke roll. Okay. Now, I did actually want to point out this before the Kraken. I would never do this strategy with the strength of armor that we currently have on this knight. This knight has incredibly good armor, which makes a huge difference here, and it's actually something that people probably aren't too used to because we never incentivize like dragon armor, right? But when the knight has dragon armor, you're in much better position than when your knight, you know, is just wearing iron +3. So yeah,
Oof.
has a lot of absorb.
There's a big oof coming.
Ooh. Yep. So,
we're alive.
You got them all alive, and Fast came out first, so 10 hits doing 10 hits thing. It's pretty good. I like the switch over to Temper, make sure that things happen. And that should do it for Tiamat, yep. So you're okay.
Really good to keep your black mages up there. If they went down, this is still absolutely winnable on Chaos, but it's not as easy as it would be, because a single fast cast, right, is actually just a double damage boost.
Yep.
Hate saying Dragon Armor plus Aegis Shield plus Opal Helm, I think, is almost a ribbon. Yeah, that's the pseudo ribbon we were talking about earlier. The critical bit there you're missing is the Pro Ring, but it's 5 out of 8 absorbs, which is pretty good. Except for Zap, which in Volcano showed us who's boss.
Yeah.
Opal Helm doesn't help because it's already covered by Dragon, exactly, what Will said.
I just have to point out that I think Maya are fighters at level 30,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the eggs is also level 30. So I mean that's huge.
Yeah.
And then here's the big thing going into Chaos here. I like this play. We're gonna put the eggs in slots 1 and 2, and then just make sure that that knight stays ultra protected. I imagine 2 faster. Nope, he's going fast temper, and then he's gonna throw a defense out there just in case Chaos decides to be punchy.
Yeah, I would almost always... I think Fast Temper is reasonable. I would almost always go... probably 2 defenses. You could go up to 3, but with the natural evasion on your knight, you might not need max evasion against this Chaos, and depending on how much HP you have and stuff like that, and how well armored you are, I'd say you're well enough armored that a single punch shouldn't, take out your knight.
Big ol' hit though. Whew. Yeah, this Chaos isn't going to be long for this world. Oh, nuke coming out. This is scary.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
That was some solid combo.
Ooh, solid. Yeah, solid damage there. Poison coming out. Lit 2 is going to save the day, because I imagine this will be it. 10 hits,
And-
13, 30. So you have to remember the HP. I mean, that's huge, because Chaos has obviously 2,000 in vanilla, and we're going up to 180%. So what? Like 3,600? Yeah. So
Yeah.
pretty big there, but Maya surviving the day, and that's a great time. 1 hour 27:23 with 2 loose.
Very
Pretty
nice,
good.
very nice. So yeah, at this point, I think we just want to talk to Caleb about any things you want to talk about the seed, or about going into this upcoming week of the Duckling Derby, and then Gregory and I will give some thoughts, and then we'll send it over to Darkman to sign off. So Caleb, any kind of thoughts or things you want to share with the Ducks?
Sure. I think for 2 loose, you definitely want to do odds-on plays, probability plays, until you've probably played enough of them to start feeling out your own gut and knowing what it's telling you. Obviously, the seed's going to do what it's going to do, but 52 boxes in Sky, like we saw a loose required there. The cheeky key to Rod and Earth is only going to happen when I roll seeds.
Yep, go to Sky, go to March when Caleb rolls. Yep.
Yeah, and like that, all that comes from not just like memeing it up, but also like all last year's spring tournament, all the practice seeds I rolled for myself. So many times I ended up in Marsh or Earth digging up loose items that I was like, I'm just always going to go to Earth now, and it pays off quite often, but sometimes you're right, Jed, it doesn't, and you just end up. You say you don't remember the times that the loose was somewhere chest dense, but I do. I remember losing a pickup race to Dangwu where the loose rod was in the volcano incentive box that wasn't incentivized.
Ooh,
and
that's rude.
I was getting the rod as he finished. So yeah, you remember the times it stings, you remember the times it pays out, but you just got to find out what works for you, and like Will Bloodworth was saying, just have fun with it, and speed will come.
I think a good way to another way to phrase it is just like, know when you're making a play that's not the odd. If you can recognize what the odds on play is as step 1, and then make conscious decisions to go against it, I think you're doing great. If you're just blindly and randomly going to dungeons, that's so much of what we try and teach is about being deliberate, opening chests for reasons, going to magic shops for reasons, going to armor shops for reasons, going to dungeons for reasons, right? So just be deliberate and you'll go far, because as long as you're processing the decisions you're making, you're going to improve. If you're just autopiloting or not thinking, that's when you're just going to stagnate and plateau. So yeah,
that's great advice.
Gregory, anything you want to say before we send it over to Darkmoon to wrap things up?
No, I mean, obviously, like I said earlier, just tomorrow I'm going to go on ahead and post the Week 5 Duckling Derby, Duckling Boot Camp Duckling Seed. Tomorrow I will also post all the information for the Duckling Derby. So all the flags for all 4 races will be available, so you can go on ahead and know what you're up against moving into the Duckling Derby. Also, the dates and times for each race. So we're going to do 1 race per week for 4 weeks, and we will have all that time. So if you haven't filled it out, go on ahead and go to the Survey Monkey that's in the pins for the Duckling Derby and fill it out so that I have a better idea of when you're available, because I'm basically going off of when the best time for the majority of people is. So it's a big old stinky race, and hopefully everybody will be able to show up for that big old race. The only thing I won't have available when we go live with everything is just the point values for first place, second place, and so forth and so on. But we will have that information once we have an idea of how many people are going to show up for the Duckling Derby. Otherwise, yeah, please join the Discord. I want to thank Caleb for showing up and hanging out and showing us how to do the Too Loose thing, and of course Dark Moon for doing the restream, Jack for hanging out with us, and RPG Limit Break for giving us the channel, and hopefully you guys join the Discord.
I'm guessing that's my cue, guys.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'll make sure. Don't want to talk over anyone. If you like what you saw here today, want to see more, come to the Final Fantasy Randomizer website, FinalFantasyRandomizer.com. You can find links for the Discord and the development Discord right there, as well as being able to play the game right there, getting your game set up and ready to roll right from the website. Please come and be a part of the Final Fantasy Randomizer community. We've got so much going on right now. The end of spring tournament is upon us, and of course, the Duckling Boot Camp and the Duckling Derby will be picking up from here, and we hope that you guys will be a part of it. If you're new, come join, come learn. Still plenty of time to join up before the Derby starts, as Greg Lee was just saying, and you can be a fun part of Final Fantasy Randomizer with the rest of us. From all of us here in the booth, hopefully you enjoyed what you're watching. Tune in on Thursday for the extra credit stream, which will be on the Final Fantasy Randomizer Twitch. And we will see you next time.